Now in its 10th year, this is Gabnet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Oh, hey, live from Harlem in New York. Yes, it's me. I'm Alex, and this is the Ramble. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown, I think somewhere around the 260th, 261st time, I think.
Jesus, that's unbelievable.
We've been doing this since when? Do you remember when we started it?
I think '08.
No, I wasn't doing. Was I doing these in '08?
We did one in '08. Then we started. Then we took a break, and we were definitely doing it in '16.
Yeah. Now let me see. I can look it up. Guests, and then I try and find the first Larry Bubbles Brown. Bubs. Here we go. Well, this can't be right. 12, 20, wait a minute. Where are we? No, Bubs. Here we go. No, it's 25. That's last. What? I can't. I can't find it. Oh well.
We'll have to call the archivist.
Yeah. I can't find the Bubs that I'm looking for. Well, anyway, I'll find it out later, and we'll come up with it.
Well, think how many interviews you've done in your life. It must be.
It's got to be. It's got to be over 1,000. More than that, probably. But
no, it got to be over 10,000 with everybody.
Well, you're right, because I did have that time in San Francisco where I did the morning show, and we'd have like 3 comics on at the same time, so that would count as 3 interviews. And then
there'd be 2 other guests. So
now, do I count them?
5 a morning.
Do I count them again once they come back to the show?
I would count everyone differently, yeah, maybe, but it would still be. You were doing close to 1,000 a year just on that.
Yeah, I mean, but people would be coming back. You'd be on, of that, you would have been on maybe 28 times or something.
Yeah.
And then when you did the traffic, well, that was everything at that time. So you were on as many days a year as I was on many days a year.
Yeah.
You enjoyed that job, didn't you?
I did. It was the most fun I ever had.
Really?
I hated the hours, but the job was great.
Well, the hours, the problem with you was the hours were completely polar opposite of the hours you were doing in your normal career.
Yes. I went from going to bed at 3 to getting up at 4, 5 maybe. Yeah, no. that was a complete turnaround. And
after
you seem to.
What?
You seem to do it. You seem to handle it pretty well, but.
The first hour I was running on fumes, okay, because I just got out of bed. I'm never awake when I get out of bed, so I wasn't totally awake for that first hour. But as the show went on, my brain started to get into second gear, and we were okay. So. That was that. And then I would, what I would do is I would go to bed like around midnight and sleep until 5 o'clock, and then get up, get in the car, come to the station. All right. And they used to play. They used to have a newscast, and then they would play some music, and then I would come on. So sometimes I was running late, so I'd tell them to play more music. But anyway, I would drive to work, went down through Chinatown, right? And I would park in the garage, then I would come up, and I would walk into the studio, click the microphone on, and there we went, And it took me some time to wake up. After the first hour, usually, it was my worst hour of the show. And
You know,
then,
first hour there maybe be 3 people in the studio audience, and then they start to drift in about 7.
yeah, and eventually we were ready to go.
Yeah.
And you were there, and Lori was there sometimes. When she when she got up, you know.
Yeah. You're right, though. The first hour was pretty much, that was like we were warming up.
Yeah, the first hour was brutal. We didn't book any
Yeah.
guests until 7 o'clock.
Right.
And the big major guests that we had went on in the 8 o'clock hour. So that was that was the way we did that show. In case anybody's listening and cares about how we used to do that show. And but you know what it was during the time I was thinking about it. I didn't appreciate what a blessing I had with that show. I didn't think of it as a blessing or anything like that because I didn't sit there and go, oh, wow, what a great deal. I'm making really decent money for getting up and doing the show and having fun for a couple hours. I don't think I ever appreciated that. I think I was, to begin with, I've been in radio so long, which is a very insecure business, that I never felt any permanency in any job I ever had. And I was right to think that because, when I was at the Live 105, I got fired. Mm-hmm. And I went down to Florida for a little bit. And I came back and they rehired me because the whole station had gone to dust.
Yeah, it went down quickly, yeah.
And, the first rating book that came out, I had brought the ratings right back to where they were. So, it was, but I never totally appreciated it, nor did I realize the enormity of it. And in retrospect, when people say to me, oh, you mean so much to me because I listened to you growing up, or I used to listen to you all the time, and I know all about the show, I suddenly realized, gee, we were doing something pretty good there,
It was good, and like every morning, so you become a really part of people's routine when you're doing a show like that.
Well, that I realized, but what I'm saying is I never woke up and went, boy, am I the luckiest guy around. I've got this terrific job. And I still went in, did the best show I possibly could. It's not like I was taking it for granted or anything. But I just, in this business that I was in, everything that I had ever done that I enjoyed, that I liked, every radio station, eventually got rid of me. Either that or I moved on, one or the other. In a couple of cases, I moved on. So, actually,
what's the longest contract they would sign you for? A year?
No, usually it was 3 years. The contract
That's
I had
a long
with
one.
515,
Yeah,
it was 3 years. Yeah, but they wanted to get rid of me after 2 years, so they had to keep paying me, pay out my contract till the end of the contract. They could get rid of me. They could tell me, well, we just don't want you doing a show, but they had to keep paying me for it. So I kept.
That was a sweet deal.
Well, okay. This is the most often used phrase that I get about that was, boy, how lucky to make all that money and not have to work. And I went, yeah, that's the nice part of it. The bad part of it is they're willing to pay that much money to make sure I don't come in.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, they don't want me so much they're willing to pay me $300,000 a year. All right, so that it's not really flattering. But what's the most money? Now you're a comic and you get paid by the job. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a job worker. If I'm not being too rude in asking, what was the most money you ever made for one gig?
I've had a couple where I made $500 to $7,500.
Really? Were you the headliner in that case?
No. Just the opening work with the get a particularly big venue that can pay well.
Yeah. And do you remember what those venues were?
Was I think it was some corporate I did with Dana, maybe.
Oh, okay. Corporates pay really well.
Yeah.
How not? Does Dana pay you part of what he makes, or do they have to hire you separately?
He always pays me, yeah. Although I think this one, the corporate threw a little at me too.
So they hire you separately from Dana.
Well, no, Dana just says. He said, I think he's bringing an opening act, so he got them to lots of money for an opening act.
Oh, okay.
And then,
all right.
And then he threw money on top of that. So.
Yeah, well, with those corporates, you can go, hey, I want my opening act to get, $7,000.
Yeah.
They'll go, fine,
No problem.
fine, no problem. You know, those corporations used to do, and this is true, they used to do musicals for their people. And they used to hire Broadway writers to write the musicals. And they would come on and sing about bathtubs. There's a guy who has a movie out, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. Bathtubs Over Broadway, it's called, and it's all about these corporate things. And they got the biggest stars to be in them. They go get a Rita Moreno to be in Bathtubs.
Wow.
Musical, or the toilet musical, or the whatever musical. So I think the idea of paying, say, Dana a lot of money to come in, because if you got $7,000, imagine what Dana got. It replaced that because it's actually cheaper than doing these musicals, and that's why they
a lot
know
cheaper apparently.
Yeah.
Although these days, I think corporates are so afraid to hire comics because people are so easily offended. There's lawsuits and everything.
Well, yeah, they get offended. Yeah. But, you're a non-offensive comic, and is there anything offensive about Dana's act?
Oh, Dana, absolutely nothing, no.
Yeah. So Dana's very hireable.
He's perfect, the corporate comic, yeah. And he's well known. So.
Yeah. And but he's one of the few they can hire that it does work clean, as we say.
Yeah.
I can't
and high energy, so it's good. So I heard that Barry Manilow, like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, corporations would hire him and pay him back then $250,000.
Wow. Yeah. Well, he was a big star at the time, and so he could get that. And they were willing to pay it too. Look who we got, Barry Manilow. Yeah. So, but anyway, that's very nice. Very nice of Dana to make you that money, and he's been very good to you.
Yes, great guy.
Yeah. How's he doing?
Good. He's. I know he did went back and did a lot of Saturday Night Lives. Past few. He didn't. He was going to do that 50th anniversary, but he didn't feel well, so he couldn't make the trip.
Oh wow! Oh, I wonder where he was on that, because I would have.
Yeah, he was. He really was. He really wanted to do it, but.
Yeah. But how tired is he of doing the church lady? And that's what they would have had him do anyway. But. Wasn't feeling well. He's not sick, is he? I mean,
no. He got a really bad flu.
Oh, really? Was it COVID?
Wasn't COVID, no. But he said he didn't want to. They told him that they gave him something for it, but they said be careful because these can turn into pneumonia. And when he heard that, he didn't want to travel. So.
Yeah. Well, he had some real health issues a few years ago. Where they did
that was the heart thing, yeah.
They did an operation on his heart, and they did the wrong thing.
The botched surgery. Yeah.
The botched surgery. Did they go back and do the right surgery?
They did. They did that. It's the botched one was in Marin. They did the good one at I think you went to Cedars.
Well, okay. Now you're going to the pros. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, what were you going to get your heart worked on at Marin General? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Although you would think Marin's so wealthy, you think they'd have the best doctors in the world. But
they have this hospital, which I used to go to all the time when I was a kid. You want to know what I had when I was a kid that I went there constantly? I would
Measles?
no. Here's something, folks. Cover your ears if it bothers you. Boils on my ass. I used to get these just hellacious boils on my ass. I guess it was part of growing up. It was part of puberty. All right. And so my parents would take me over there, and the doctors would put a needle in there and suck out all the, shall we say, fluid. Although I like to use the word pus because it's such an ugly word. But what was in the boil. And then, of course, it went down, and I was fine until the next one came along. They rushed me back to Marin General, so. But it was a kind of a mediocre hospital. I don't know how it is today. But I can't imagine. I wouldn't want to get my heart worked on at Marin General. But he finally got it corrected, and then all of a sudden he was fine.
Got it corrected, yeah. That was when he was at Cedars. While he's recuperating, Frank Sinatra was in the room next to him and died.
Oh God. Oh, I'm at a good place.
Yeah. Well, Frank was towards the end, so
well, that's kind of a claim to fame. I
was
in a hospital
interesting.
next to Frank Sinatra when he died.
Yeah.
Wow, you were responsible for his death.
Yeah.
But Dana's such a nice guy, and he's just had some hellacious situations in his life. What he has
so much for the karma theory. So.
He had a son die recently.
Yeah, over a year ago, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a drug thing.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's really
I know.
sad. He had other children besides that one, right?
He's got Tom's the other brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. The hardest thing. I mean, I've never had any kids, and neither of you. But then again, you have to have sex before you have kids.
Well, they said that's the worst thing a parent can have is that because the child's not supposed to die before you do. So.
Well, that's why it's the worst thing. I mean, I can't imagine it because I've never had kids, but I can kind of empathize with it,
Mm-hmm.
But here's something I never asked you. All these years we worked together. How many years did we work together on the radio show?
Radio, we were there for. I was 3 years with you, but I did your show for 20. I think.
But you came in every day for 3 years, is what you're saying. So in those 3 years, did you ever meet up with a woman who came in to see the show, who you took home or went somewhere and had sex with?
I met a few at the show where that happened, but not that day. So.
Not that day,
no.
But within in other words, you met them as a result of the program.
Yeah, they think that was great. Radio is great for meeting women, Because they can't see you. So.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. But in our case, they could see us because we did have a studio audience and we did do a lot of things out there. In the beginning, when I first started in San Francisco, and they would take pictures of me, I would have a hat on and dark glasses. And the reason I did it is I had a theory that we were doing radio, and I remembered all the times that I saw one of my favorite radio stars, like in the newspaper, and they had a picture of them. And I couldn't place the voice with the face I saw in the newspaper. So, so I decided that I didn't want people to see my face because I want them to just relate to my voice, and that's all. So I put dark glasses on and a hat. And that tended to make me kind of like you didn't really know what I look like. And I did that for quite a while because I believe that radio is a visual medium and I can project my own looks with my voice, okay? And I can project any way I want myself to look with my voice. You getting what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the magic of radio. Okay, that it's I once described radio as the most visual medium if you use it right. Okay, and that's what we did. That So, but then I started doing the comedy shows and things like that, and I figured, well, they're going to have to see they're going to have to say, really, that guy is that ugly? I just imagine that. But it never hurt. I guess I never had a problem that way. So I started just take a picture of me. I'm leaving the glasses off. So that's what happened. So but radio's a magic medium. It's
too bad it died.
It died, and now here's what you got. You got the podcast, and who can do the podcast? Hey, Bubs, want to do a podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody can do a podcast.
Anybody can do a podcast. Anybody can do a podcast. And so you've really taken, to begin with, the radio is nothing now. The podcast is everything. And the people doing the podcast aren't really great communicators, Oh, we'll tell a mystery story, and then they get, millions of views. Well, so what? It's just the amateurs have taken over. All right? Do I sound like an old man? Do I sound like an old man here saying that?
Maybe we're sounding cranky, but it's true.
Yeah, the amateurs have taken over. But so and you do a podcast right here every time we talk.
That's true.
Yeah,
right.
That's what this is. The most boring podcast in America. We're proud of it. Damn it, we're proud of it. How can we juice up this our little podcast here?
We need to get Lori Thompson on us.
Something? I'd love to do it. She's not available yet. She's through with the radiation, and she's through with the radiation. She's through with the what do you call it? The stuff where they give you the drip. Chemo. Yeah.
Chemo.
But now has a permanent case of laryngitis that's going to last for about 2 months. So I haven't been able to talk to her. Hey, listen, I feel so bad for her because she shouldn't have to be going through all this. She's too nice a person, And it's not like it was the worst. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not there, but she had a lump in her neck. And they removed the lump, and they did a biopsy on it, and it was a tumor. It was cancerous. So they then went full bore on her. She would go to chemo. Well, first she would go to radiation, and they take her to the next room and give her chemo.
Jesus.
And that's not. And she had to do that for like I don't know what, a month, 2 months, something like that. That's quite a shock to the system, and she was always afraid that because they were aiming the radiation at her throat, for instance, that she would lose her ability to talk. And for her and I, people who use our voices as our only form of communication, she was pretty frightened of that. They don't say the laryngitis is permanent, but that it could last up to 2 months. So I'm hoping it only lasts about a week.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah, I'd love to hear from her.
Well, what we'll do is maybe we'll bring you on sometime when I'm talking to her. All she'll hear is your voice.
Okay.
But, I can't do you by video because you refuse to have high-speed internet. What's your problem?
Change is bad.
Well, you said you had it, and I didn't. And it was for.
I got bored. For a couple of months, I got bored with it. So.
Yeah. You got bored with it. What bored you about having high-speed internet?
Just other than I got YouTube was kind of interesting for a while, and then I got boring, and You could get the emails just as quick on the dial-up, pretty much. So that's all I need it for.
So you're back to hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, listen, we've run out of time again for another
We have.
episode of Larry and Alex, and we'll talk to you in a couple
We'll
of
do
weeks.
it again.
Okay? Yeah, absolutely, we will do it again.
Okay.
I promise. Thanks, Bubs.
Thank you.
Now in its 10th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, Larry Bubbles Brown, aren't you incredible? Let me turn on the lights here. There we go. And then they come down a little bit. Come on down. Come on. There we go. All right. Fine. Hello, everybody. How are you? Let me just turn this down a little bit here. And I'm getting myself in the best possible shape that I can. We have a whole bunch of people waiting to call tonight to talk to us tonight, and I have no idea why, what could be on their minds, but they all seem to be here, so let's admit them as soon as we can here. Here we go. There's Charlie Wallace. There's Jeff. There's Brian. There's our good friend Kevin. Josh Wheeler, Charlie Wallace, Richard. Hello, Richard. Good to have you join us again. Okay, you there?
Yeah. I would just like to start off the show by saying thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for what?
I just wanted to say thank you. That's all. I got my popcorn ready for tonight's show.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Well, yeah. I was watching a weird TV show today. Yeah, it was a weird TV show, and it was about a president. I think I was watching like maybe Showtime, something like that. I don't know, about a president who was trying to make some kind of deal with some foreign dignitary, and then blows it by just going berserko.
That was Me TV.
That's like Trump.
That was Me TV.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Nice country you got there. Shame if something happened to it.
Huh?
Yeah.
Nice country you have there. Yeah, shame something happened to it. I don't think we've ever seen anything like that, have we, in our lifetime?
No protection racket there.
Not necessarily us, but I'm sure it happens behind closed doors before.
I'm
But
sure.
being on TV, that was Trump's setup.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Put it on TV. Make it a show.
Yeah.
About halfway through, I'll get pissed
How
off.
many here think it was a setup?
Oh yeah.
If
I
you're
don't
saying
necessarily think it was set up, but it was
Yes.
to make
you know,
Putin,
ready to
kiss
happen.
Putin's ass.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the tell was in this, that it was maybe a, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for?
Staged?
Huh? Staged.
Staged?
That they trapped him into it.
Yeah.
Because when do you ever see the vice president jump in like that? And he kind of like almost on cue jumped in and started saying stuff, and then everybody, they go, "Oh, you're being rude. You're being insolent to the president of the United States." And what? Did you see any of that coming out of Zelensky? He was
Well,
keeping
if you-
as calm as he possibly could. What?
Did you watch the whole? Did you watch the full 49 minutes of it, or just that?
I
section
watched
he was
the whole
playing
thing.
all day? Because that's what started it. Was he was claiming you never say thank you.
Right.
Yet, all I heard was about 6 thank yous at the beginning of that whole conference.
Yeah.
So it was just bullshit that even started that crap.
Yeah, but it looked like they went in with a plan to blow this whole thing. You know?
Yeah, it was sign here or go home.
Yeah.
No, what they were really doing was they were reenacting that scene from the Star Trek V, the Undiscovered Country.
I haven't seen it, but I believe you.
It's where they get into this negotiate. They had a little bit too much to drink, and the whole thing just falls apart. But it's a funny scene.
Yeah, I mean, it really was. It just looks so like they were gunning for him. They were just trying to set him up.
But I don't understand. If he signs whatever they want him to sign, does that mean Putin's guys are leaving, or they get to stay there?
Well, that's what he was saying. He said we want a guarantee of our security in order to sign this deal with you. You know what he was doing? He was giving up. Well, to begin with, I don't know if he wanted to give up 50%, but Trump wants America, or Trump, I don't know who, to own the minerals.
Yep.
Now, when have you ever heard of that? You may have heard of, we want so many minerals for free, so you're paying us back, or whatever, and once you pay us back, then the debt will have been satisfied. No, there was nothing like that. We want 50%, and we own 50% of all the minerals coming out of Ukraine. Made no sense at all, you know. So what he wanted in return is he wanted some kind of guarantee, because, you know, it's not like Putin has been forthcoming in this whole thing, and he just wanted to make sure his country was in good shape, you know, and that it was going to be taken care of and that it was going to be secure. And he asked for security, a guarantee of security. And Trump didn't want to give any of that, because he didn't want to give up Putin, is what he didn't want to do. And so he staged this situation that went on today. I'm sure beforehand he said to J.D. Vance, now look, I'll be saying this and so on, then you say this, and then I'll get mad. My face will turn red. Did you notice his face turned red? My face will turn red, and then you'll say something else again. I bet the whole thing was choreographed beforehand.
Well, then at the end, you see Vance like tap his knee, you know, after they were done. Like, yeah, we sure showed them. You know, he taps his knee like, yeah, we got him.
The remark that was so absolutely, what can I call it, nuts, was when Trump said, "This will make some good TV."
Yeah, he said that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That tells you right there it was staged.
Yeah.
Well,
What do you think, Mr. Yamaguchi?
oh. Well, I didn't hear the whole thing. I was listening to parts of it. I was listening to Michelangelo Signorelli on Sirius XM. He was broadcasting some of it. His theory is that that Vance is the one that sabotaged the whole thing, which makes sense to me. But one thing is interesting is, Alex Vidman, from the Vidman.
Mm-hmm.
He's written a book, and he's been pushing the book, and he's actually was on Signorelli's show. And last night I heard him on here on KQED.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying, actually, the deal, the mineral deal, was pretty good, and he was really surprised. And I said, well, if I'm willing to give it a shot, if he does this deal, I think this will be good for the U.S. and for Ukraine. And they just went and sabotaged the deal. So I was like, I don't know.
You got to see what a good businessman Trump is, and what a great negotiator he is.
Yeah.
And that's probably the way he's been doing business all his life.
Oh yeah. Let me see. Let me pull out my book, Trump Nation. This is a great book.
Yeah.
Somebody put it out on the street, and I picked it up. But I talked. It was written in the 90s. When was this book written? Actually, it's 2005. 2005, and I guess he's just it goes through all his bankruptcies and like City and all that, and he just screws up. Excuse me. He just keeps screwing up one thing after another, businessman.
And at the end, the guy asked him about wearing a suit. He said, "Oh, many Americans are upset that you're not wearing a suit." And he says, "Do you even own one?" and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, "Yeah, well, we all said that. You're right about Musk, right? That's who we're upset about, not with him."
Well, actually, basically, he was wearing the military gear he wears all the time now.
Just like Winston Churchill
Did Winston?
during World War II.
What did
He
Winston?
never wore a suit to the White House.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
He had military gear, like you said.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think it's wrong of him to not have worn a suit and tie and all of that. He hasn't anywhere in all of his meanderings in the recent times. So I don't, I mean, all I'm saying is that I think if anybody was being rude to anybody, it was Trump being rude to Zelensky. I think Zelensky, even in the midst of all of that, was being, I think, rather deferential. And it said that Trump said that he didn't like the way he was looking at him. And I didn't see any of that. And I don't think any of you saw any of that. And even when all the yelling and screaming was going on, he kind of backed off and was kind of going, what the hell is this?
What's going on?
Yeah. What the hell is this? And then he was asked to leave the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great diplomacy. That's really terrific. What?
Taft got free lunch.
Well, where was Trump saying, hey, why don't we wait till after this little presser here? When we go into another room, we can discuss this matter.
Oh, that's right.
But no, he didn't do that. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to make good television.
And that's what he said.
Yeah, it's either, and then he keeps talking about things about a deal, and he keeps talking in business terms.
Yeah.
When this is really diplomacy, this is world, diplomacy, negotiations, and so on. This isn't. You aren't making a deal.
Everything's transactional.
Yeah, everything's transactional with him.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, he's a pretty bad businessman if this is the way he did business. Now we know why all his businesses went belly up.
I was saying, read the book Trump Nation. It'll tell you all the.
Well, we have to wait until somebody throws it out in the garbage like you found it.
It wasn't even garbage. It was out in the street. I went to knock on the guy's door. I said, "There's this book out in front of you. Did you lose it?" He says, "Oh, I've just decided to put it out and let somebody else read it." I said, "Okay, I'll take it."
Okay, all right.
Like a little library.
That's the way things go here in Berkeley. We we have our little free libraries, and we share.
Well, we have our good friend Josh here tonight, and he is yet to chime in on his thoughts. Did you see any of this thing that went on today?
I saw some, the more, I'm sure, contentious parts, yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel that he was being disrespectful of the president at any point?
No. I mean, the Trump people are the ones that put that nonsense on him. Again, where's the Democratic Party, having a rally, pointing this out to people, saying that, once again, Diaper Don got offended. He can't even get through one meeting without poo-pooing in his diaper because somebody didn't make nice with him, I mean, they should be hitting it hard, but people got to really think this out, too. I mean, if they want to reach some sort of agreement for American interest in Ukraine in exchange for military assistance, that's understandable. I don't think it's necessary personally, but for the people who supported that position, I could understand it as reasonable. But what I'd like to think about or get people to think about is, Trump says, well, we take this 50% ownership or whatever, and then no one will mess with him because we'll be there and all that and everything. So I assume we own some of this, and some Americans go over there and they put their hard hats on and, they walk around in the mines and they supervise and make sure we get our cut and everything. But they don't really ever think about, so if that's the case, so what happens if the Russians kill any of those Americans?
Wow.
What happens if they bomb the mine? Or what happens if they bomb the city around the mine where a bunch of Americans are living? What happens if they accidentally shoot down a plane full of Americans on their way to the mine, which is like not out of the realm of possibility because they tend to shoot the wrong airplane down about once or twice a year. I mean, no one's really so like what happens then, right? Now, so that's what I'm saying is if that's the reason that you're using, you're setting it up so that if that happens, now you or us, now we're in a war. Either it goes, unanswered, or you're in a war with the Russians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is exactly why the United States of America has many times historically avoided these types of deals, because when you have that much interest in something, you are thereby obligated to protect the interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you take an interest in something that's high risk for confrontation, then you're high risk for having to get into confrontation. So that's why those things are not so openly done a lot of times. If they were going to do some kind of interest like this, it should have been quietly, privately, low key, diplomatically.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly shouldn't be done on, C-SPAN, for goodness sakes. But I'm just saying that's what I haven't understood about this is if you're really wanting to take that much of an interest in their country, that's fine. I would applaud that. I think an American-Ukrainian partnership would be great economically, all those kinds of things. But how does that fit in with his rhetoric and goals? I mean, that if you want to make them a partner, I support that. But to me, making them a partner means as soon as some shit goes down, you got to be there to be their partner, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what I haven't understood.
Yeah. Charlie has his hand up. Charlie?
What I wonder is how can we trust anything that Trump does? Because we guaranteed the safety of Ukraine when we got them to give up their nukes. And now he's completely thrown that out the window like it never existed. So why would we trust anything? So he can say whatever he wants. Now he's not going to feel any reason to do what he says.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, Richard.
Yes, actually, one of the pressers asked, "What if you have the people?" Asked just that question Josh posed. What if our people get hurt? And he said, "What if a bomb drops on your head right now?
Yeah.
Anything could happen."
Well, that's the way he diverts a
Right,
question.
I saw it. Right.
Yeah.
That's the way he diverts a question.
Yeah, his answer was, well, Putin wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, of course not.
No, but his basic answer was, well, what if a bomb dropped on you tomorrow?
Right,
Well, we're not talking about that. We asked
Right.
another
I'm a drug
question.
dealer. I would never steal from anybody. I'm just a drug dealer.
Hello, Patrick. Did you see it today?
Yeah.
It was a 3-alarm fire, wasn't it?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say it was rather disturbing.
Suboptimal.
How do you find it rather disturbing?
Well, I mean, discussions like that need not happen out in the open. It's like when mom and dad are discussing things dealing with the house, that you might lose the house, things like that. You don't worry the kids about everything. You take care of things behind closed doors.
Okay.
That's diplomacy.
Okay, now in this case, whose fault was that?
Well, I mean, obviously everybody wants to blame Trump, but I would point it to J.D. Vance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
don't you think he was doing Trump's bidding and Trump's dirty
I don't
work?
give a shit about that.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I have really, and again, I'm a youngster at only 50, but I haven't seen many vice presidents or ever a vice president run a fucking meeting.
Yeah, right.
Ridiculous. I mean, the president there, that's who should have been running it. And whether or not we like Trump or whether or not we hate him, it doesn't matter. He's the leader of the country, meeting with another leader of the country. The vice president is the little boy that sits on the side and learns. It's okay, that's fine. You can talk later when we're at supper. But right now, it's just like in The Godfather, when Sonny Corleone spoke up when they were in a meeting, and Vito was very nice about it, but said, you have to excuse me. I spoil my kids. Sometimes they speak when they're not supposed to. And then after that meeting ended, he chewed Sonny out. Don't you ever do this shit in front of me again.
Yeah.
That's what a vice
I
president.
like how you're likening Trump and his administration to The Godfather. I think that's a good analogy.
But if you only saw that part of it,
yeah, I mean,
if you looked at the first, it's 49 minutes long. If you looked at the first 20 to 24 minutes, something like that, Trump had the room. And it's when that last question came in is when all the shit started, when he jumped in. So yes, and your analogy is right, but Trump had the room the whole time, and he could have taken that right back.
Yeah,
and he didn't.
At any point, he could have said, "Well, let's talk about this later when we're in negotiations."
Right. I mean, but he didn't. He said, "No, this is good. This is good. I want everybody to see this."
Yeah.
So it's possible that I don't want to say it was staged. He probably, invited the press in when he shouldn't have in the first place. It should have just been a quiet room and then have a post-conference conference. But he had a conference. Then they started talking. At first they talked. Then they went out and brought the press in, and then started talking again. Only they got into a little bit more detail, and Zelensky started correcting him on facts, and that got him worked up. And then it turned around, and Vance took over and did a little bit of his shit.
Well, he took
and
that.
Then it was out of control.
He took that as being disrespectful to him, when he wasn't being disrespectful. He was simply correcting him on what he thought was false assumptions. Well, let me go over here to Tom. You have your hand raised.
I do the old-fashioned Zoom hand raise.
Yeah.
And let me lower my hand. Yeah, but I want to get back to what Patrick was saying, and I was thinking before you came on, I was listening to Michelangelo Signorelli, and
we know about Michelangelo Signorelli.
No, but this is a good point, and that it was Vance that was really instigating this.
Oh,
And let me make one other point, and that's that there was another person in the room too. You know who that was?
Reporter.
Our Secretary of State.
And he didn't say a word. Didn't say a word.
He didn't say anything.
And that tells you something.
He didn't say anything.
Well, I mean,
that was a smart thing.
I were a Democratic leader. If I were a Democratic leader at our rally that we should be having, I would be asking why the president couldn't handle that meeting better, why the vice president had to do it for him. Was he tired? Does he not have the mental acuity to do it? Is he not prepared for meetings on such a big stage? When he got upset and went poo-poo in his pants, was he uncomfortable because his butt was feeling chafed? I mean,
why don't you want to ask Marco Rubio? He was in the room.
Well, I think Marco Rubio didn't say anything because I think he didn't think he should say anything.
I would be saying at my rally that I'm not surprised because little Marco Rubio with his small dick,
but you got to know
apparently was too scared to speak in a room full of men.
But you got to know that J.D. Vance wouldn't have popped up and said anything if Trump hadn't told him to do it.
I think you're right, Alex. He was
I
told.
don't think
You
so.
know, I mean,
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
I-
Because when have you ever seen a
Yeah.
vice president sitting in something like that even chime in? It's between the president and the person that's visiting the Oval Office. I think, if anything, other than being disrespectful, President Trump was a bad host.
Yeah.
Okay, and should treat his treat a guest much better than he treated Zelensky today, and that's the shame. That's the shame of the diplomacy. Yes, Jeff.
Well, first of all, I didn't watch it at all, but I've been in a lot of positions where the president and the vice president were in a presentation. And often you can have the vice president to talk about part of it.
No, but this
Okay,
wasn't that wasn't the situation here.
But that's what it shouldn't be done unless it's absolutely defined that the president says, okay, this is what you can talk about, and this is what I'm going to take over when you're done at this.
Right.
It's
But
pretty well organized.
But it seems to me, look, it seemed to me when I was watching it and in the aftermath, when I watched it again and again, that it was all orchestrated by Trump for him to do the dirty work. Okay. And then when Zelensky tried to reply, Trump would then get mad and red in the face and upset. And how can you violate the Oval Office like this, like it's some kind of human being?
From a man who tried to overthrow the government January 6th. How can you desperate?
Yeah, exactly.
Patrick's goes in.
Huh? Yes, Patrick.
Well, one, I think J.D. Vance started his campaign for president today. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And I think, and I'll give you this much, Alex. I think you're right that he was given permission, but not specifically to this meeting. I think he'd been given a wide berth in meeting because they think similarly, and he probably feels comfortable enough to let him run his
You
mouth.
really think that Donald Trump and his ego allowed J.D. Vance to have the stage?
Yes.
I don't
then
think so.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
As far as disrespecting the Oval Office, this is something that I've spoken with Kevin and with Josh about. Elon Musk showing up with a fucking ball cap on
Yes, of course.
and a t-shirt in the Oval Office. There is nothing worse than that I've seen, other than when John Fetterman was showing up for his work in fucking sweatshorts and a t-shirt or a sweatshirt.
Unless it was dress down day.
I mean, so I disrespect the Oval Office. Why don't you look over to Elon and say, hey, it's nice you wore a fucking sports coat,
Yeah.
but how about a tie?
Well, you know, John Fetterman, you don't understand that with John Fetterman, it's casual Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays,
And
and
Musk
Fridays.
brought the kid to work day. And Musk is actually the president. You got to remember that. He ain't the other guy who's paying all of Trump's bills.
Yeah,
and
but I
giving
mean,
cuts.
you know, I mean, I just think, look, you saw it. Do you think Zelensky was being disrespectful of Donald Trump and of the Oval Office?
No, I think there was part of a language situation going on.
Oh, well,
he tried to
he-
express himself
yeah.
sometimes, and if you saw the Brett Baer interview, he did the same thing in that on Fox.
The difference was that
there was
Brett
many
Baer.
times
Brett
when
Baer-
he
the difference was that Brett Baer didn't try to talk over him,
no,
which
he,
Trump
he would
constantly did.
he asked him about regrets, and you could see the look on his face, like, oh, regrets. What's that mean? What's that mean? So he looked over at his interpreter. They told him that.
Yeah.
So that was, I think, part of the situation, because you could tell when he was talking, and that was probably going on in the Oval Office as well. And Trump has a hard time with that. if you've seen some of his pressers,
Yeah.
I've seen him twice now take a question and stand there and say, what did you say? You have to talk louder. You have to talk louder. And then I forgot which one. I think the lady was from Romania. And he finally said, well, I don't know what you're saying. Next. Straight up. And that's happened a couple of times in his thing. So if Zelensky was trying to bring out a point and it wasn't fast enough or the word wasn't exactly right, they would pounce on that.
And what he was is you saw a bully taking advantage of somebody who couldn't exactly speak the language.
Correct. That's why there should have been either an interpreter there or
I think it should have
in the
all
fucking
been
room
done
with all them people there.
I think it should have all been done through an interpreter. Then Trump wouldn't have the ability to jump in like he did. You know,
it gives them time to slow down and answer the questions.
Yeah. Braun? Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't make sense, even with the Macron and Sturmer, to do like a full mishmash in the Oval Office and then do a press conference afterwards.
Yeah, right.
After the
they had a press conference ready to go today.
Come out with things ironed out. Now, there was some scolding of CNN by Trump, and then there was and when One America had asked that question about why aren't you wearing a suit,
and he was praising him.
That was One America, and so I like you, Trump said.
Yeah.
At a point, Zelensky answers, "Well, I'll wear a costume after the war," and costume is a French word for suit. So, it could have been misunderstood, like, "I'll wear a costume for you."
Yeah, I'm going to come as the Easter rabbit or something like that. Yeah.
Right. That's what I meant by communication was a little difficult.
Well, I mean, but
then you get flustered.
But it was the bully in Trump that took advantage of that.
Correct.
He kept trying to kind of make his point, and Trump kept talking over him and getting red in the face. World War III,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was rude, and I think he was being a bully, and we saw everything that is despicable about this man. Why you wouldn't want to do business with him.
Yeah.
Huh?
Right.
And it's interesting because I flipped over to Fox because I knew exactly what all the other ones were going to say. So I flipped over to Fox and watched them for about an hour, and they were all over him too. For about 40 minutes. Then it went to 45 minutes. Then it went to 50 minutes. It was, this and that. And then all of a sudden, everybody's on.
So they were criticizing him?
They were criticizing for a while.
Yeah.
And saying that, he shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that. And And then after they got a couple interviews in, they were all over his shit. Like, I got on the Trump train. Let's get on the Trump train.
What did you think of Brett Baer's interview of Zelensky on Fox?
It was fair. He gave him a chance to answer the questions.
I think it was completely fair. It was a little like he was asking the questions that are like, well, maybe you were being disrespectful of the president, but how do you feel about that? He said, would you like to apologize to the president? And he said, no.
He skipped around that, yeah.
But again,
the problem is he didn't need to. That's what my point is. He didn't need to because he said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And that was what started the whole damn argument was you never say thank you. And in the first 15 minutes, he's going, I thank the American people for the help they've given us. I thank the government for helping us. We're in where we are because of them. But then a few minutes later, Vance is jumping in there and say, did you say thank you in this meeting right now? Did you?
Like 5-year-olds. Like arguing with a 5-year-old.
Yeah, it was. Exactly. It's like,
can I say one thing, Alex, too?
I want my ball back.
Yeah, what?
They want Zelensky to apologize, right? Trump is the same guy that said Zelensky started the war, called Zelensky a dictator. Zelensky should have said, you know what? You owe me an apology, fuckface.
Yes.
Did you hear the
question? And then shut the fuck up or I'll slap you. That's what you said. Speak when you're spoken to. I'm getting paid and I got to suck his dick? Really?
Did you hear the question, though? Somebody asked him, do you still think he's a dictator? And he said, oh, did I say that?
Yeah, you hear that shit?
Yeah,
You
Trump said that. He
right.
said, "Oh, did I say that?"
That was yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
shit,
Somebody asked him why he called him a dictator, and he said, "Did I say that? I don't think I said
I think
that."
the point is, to be honest with you, the way I come away from it is when you sit back and really think about it and look at what happened, is this probably happens quite often when there's negotiations going on behind
in a
closed
back
doors.
room. In a back
When
room.
people are when these countries are getting together and trying to get their shit together, and yeah, I'm going to yell at you and you're going to yell at me, and they're going to fight it out and then come out for the presser afterwards and say, well, we had our talks, we're going to do this, we're going to try and get this done, we're going to try and get that done. But Trump called the press in and said, come on in, we want we want to see this, we want to be open. And they opened it up that way. That's how they caused the Trump show.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I saw it after you sit back and think about it.
Yep.
Well, he likes that.
Well, I mean, as he said at the end of it, it's just been made great. Well, at least it's made great
TV,
television, And I'm going, that's not what the idea of this was,
Waiting for the guy in the back to go, cut.
I mean, the man is the world's worst negotiator at best.
I think he stole his power too.
What?
He
Well, you know what?
stole it.
James
All about
Carville came
money,
out
man.
with a
I
video
saw that.
tonight in which he said, I think Trump has got the beginnings of syphilis.
I believe it. He can't even remember what he said yesterday.
He's got a lot worse than that.
But I mean,
it's almost like, and when Vance said that, I'm like, this guy is such a fucking dick, really. They had JD. Wasn't he the one who said that you can't be president about a week ago? That you couldn't handle this job? He was told to say all that shit, Alex.
well, no,
Trump can't handle tough
I
questions.
think it was set up ahead of time. I'll do this, then you do that, then I'll do this, then you do that. I know you disagree with me, Patrick, but come on, look who we're dealing with.
Yeah,
Okay,
but-
we're not dealing with a guy who understands being a leader of a country. All he understands is being the host of The Apprentice.
Yeah, but Alex, if it was set
Journeyman.
up like that, there would have been more back and forth. This was the final question, and that is what convinces me this was not set up like that, because J.D. Vance jumped in there, and I think, again, I'll give you this much, he'd probably been given a wide berth by the president in meetings to say, if you feel like saying something, say it. But he waited until the most explosive thing.
I don't think Trump does that. I don't think
Yeah,
Trump's got it in him to give the stage up to somebody else.
No, I'm with Patrick on this. I think one thing, Alex, I think you're giving Trump more credit than he deserves. I don't think really Trump really thinks that far ahead. He just responds emotionally, and as we said, it was Vance that was actually agitating him. It could have been a totally different press conference if Vance had withheld or held back or been a little bit more, let's just say, civil. But once Trump gets going, he's just off to the races, and I just think that's what happened.
Listen, I want to do something here for a quick second. I'm going to put my face up here because there's somebody wants to. A lot of people have been trying to enter that are fakes, but this guy is somebody that normally calls, and let's see if it's him. It is him. Okay, good. All right. Okay, there's Jason. Thanks for waiting, Jason. But
Still connecting.
Still connecting.
He likes Friday night. If it was scripted,
He always likes
Trump forgot his lines because he called it raw earth materials.
Yeah.
It's rare earth metals.
Exactly.
That was driving me
they should have
nuts.
corrected him on that. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about? He's dying to get that money.
But I'm of course, Patrick. I'm going to be more suspicious of things like this.
Well, and that, I mean, that's fine. And to Secretary Rubio, I just think he's smarter than J.D. Vance by just keeping it yap shut. He knows its place.
Well, he probably wasn't told to open his yap. Probably. This is why I'm saying
he was asked one question for a comment. And that was it.
But the thing is,
but that was directed to him.
People in those positions, and most of the people in that room were probably in the back room or in that room before the press got in, and they had their say. And Marco Rubio may have called him a cocksucker to his face.
Yeah.
Then when the press comes in, most reasonable people, whether you agree with their politics, don't agree with their politics, think they're MAGA or not, most people then understand, okay, it's time to act like adults.
Yeah.
And that's where Rubio fell in. And J.D. Vance forgot that because he's running for president in another 3 years.
Well, Trump doesn't like to be considered. Disrespected. Okay, he's horrible. You can't insult him. You can't even question him. That's being disrespectful. Do you really think? Does anybody here think that in any way, shape, or form Zelensky was disrespectful of Donald Trump?
If you call correcting his facts, yes, he was disrespectful.
Yeah, but barring that, which is reasonable.
Oh, okay. Well, then
which
nothing
is
happened.
reasonable, because didn't somebody correct him the other day? I believe it was the French prime minister who said to him when he gave out, well, we've given more money than anybody to Ukraine. He said, well, wait a minute. We've given 60.
It was talking about being repaid.
We've given 60 billion. You've only given like 40 billion. And, he corrected him. He didn't want to, he wanted to say, look, we've done our share. We'd like people to know that, and Trump didn't come down on him for doing that because he didn't want to piss off Macron, He
did on Zelensky, though. Yeah, he's still throwing that $350 billion number around when it's only about $128 billion.
Yeah. So, and if you want to get your money back, I mean, there was never a deal in the beginning to get our money back. But if you really if you feel that you want to retroactively
raw earth,
the raw earth is in 20% of Ukraine, and that's occupied already.
But if you feel you want to do it, okay, then you say, okay, you will give us rare earth materials, or whatever he called them, raw earth materials, until they get to the point where you've repaid us. Then it's over. Even if you go on Shark Tank, they make a deal and they want a royalty. They ask for 20% or something until double my money is back. Whatever. But nothing's into perpetuity. Trump wants this into perpetuity. He wants the ability to use those minerals forever, and they're owned by the United States. He uses the word owned. Yes, Richard.
Yeah, it's like a racket with him and Putin. Between them, if they attack a country and then he makes peace, he gets half, and
they break up the spoils.
Jason, did you see this today?
Yes.
What did you think?
I thought it was ridiculous. It was such an embarrassment to our country to have this guy. I don't understand how people elected him and then still stand behind him, but I feel like today a lot of people stepped away from him because they saw what a fucking moron he is.
Well, what it's doing to our relationship with the rest of the world, you got to realize Europe is now being upset by this whole thing.
Oh, I get it.
And
Putin's over there jacking off.
They're about ready to say, America, you're on your own, and we'll take care of our own business. And they're willing to come. Oh, look at that! We have a pussy on our show.
They're willing to come.
I mean, it's just amazing.
But see, and that's where Trump's going to make it a win. Is if we kind of pull out, but Europe gets together and supports Ukraine, then he'll say, I got NATO to do what NATO is supposed to do. They are Europe. They're supposed to take care of the European countries, and by me doing what I did, I got them
Well,
to
for
step
the
up to do
time
what they're
being,
supposed
we're
to do.
part of NATO still. He didn't get out of NATO, did he? Did he sign any executive order getting?
But I'm just saying he's going to use it as a victory if NATO, European countries of NATO, come together and fight back against Russia. He's going to use it as a victory.
Yeah, but they're also going to. I think they're going to start not having anything to do with us and not going to come to our rescue when we need them. You know. So I mean, I think the whole world has been reshaped in about an hour in the Oval Office.
I think Trump is going to turn the United States into a third world country because nobody's going to have anything to fucking do with us because we turned into such fucking assholes. And,
well, we
third world country.
Part of it is we can't be trusted. That's that's one of the things that's been happening too. And now I want to go to other countries. I don't even know if I can go to other countries. I might not be welcome there because I'm an American. Anyway.
Tell them you're Canadian.
Tell them I'm Canadian. Yeah. Oh, boy.
Me and my wife at the end of March are going to Mexico to Progreso, to an actual not American touristy city and stuff, to see how Mexico is because we might move there.
Well, I don't know if I'd want to move to Mexico, but we're thinking about Portugal or Spain. But at our age, we need to perhaps stay here because of our medical, so.
Wow, every other country in the world has better medical than we do. We're like 37.
It's a question of if I have access to that, will they, if I come to their country, let me use
other
their
countries are
medical
more
system.
welcoming than we are. They're not like you foreigner, get out of our fucking country. They're, hey, you're here, we're going to take care of you.
Well, I know somebody that got sick in England once, and they said, go to the hospital. And he went to the hospital, and they took care of him. And they said, you're an American, so what? And then as he left, he said, where do I pay? And they said, oh, well, we don't have a cashier.
No, that was Jeff.
Huh?
That was Jeff, wasn't it, Jeff?
Yeah, well, I did it once, yeah.
Did you do it once?
Yeah.
I thought that was Michael Moore.
Yeah.
It was in Germany. It was
You didn't feel, Josh, that he was disrespectful, do you? Or that he started the whole argument or anything like that?
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The Democratic Party should be having their deal, and they should be reframing that narrative, saying that the president is so unprepared for a meeting of this magnitude that he can't stay calm without poo-pooing in his pants for more than a few minutes, and his own vice president had to take the meeting over for him. So apparently he's not mentally able to handle such tense situations. Why does the vice president have to handle this if he doesn't have the mental acuity to do it? And he can't handle these tense situations, and by demanding that we have such a stake of ownership into such a volatile part of the world's resources, he is unwittingly opening the door to actually draw us in to a hot World War III. That should be the selling point. Why are they not selling it that way?
Did anybody here feel at any point that Zelensky was creating this situation? I don't. All I know, what the problem was with Zelensky was English is his third language, not his second language. And, he doesn't speak it very well. And in most cases, he prefers to use an interpreter. In fact, on Brett Baer's show, he had an interpreter sitting over to the side if he needed to know what Baer was asking him, But then he gave, English answers.
He did pretty well. During
Who did pretty? You mean when he was with Trump?
No, Zelensky with Brett Baer.
Yeah.
He did pretty well. I mean, with it English. So and even during the meeting. So I'm not even going to allow my brain to give the excuse that it's misinterpretation of words, because I think he understands well enough and can speak well enough.
That's not. It's not him.
No, I
it's Trump understanding him. Him being able
And
to
more than that,
project
but
what
more
he wants
than, more
to say.
than more than that was that Trump kept interrupting him and making his ability. It's hard enough for him to speak English,
Right.
but
gets
made it more
flustered.
difficult for him by talking over him.
Trump just has a vendetta against him that he didn't help him with his impeachment hearings.
Well, you know why? Yeah, because they wanted that whole thing for him to say that there had been some kind of deal with
Biden's son.
Oh,
Biden. Yeah,
right.
Biden's
Yeah,
son.
that's how he got impeached in the first place.
Yeah,
Or the
Trying to say
laptop
that-
story.
Yeah.
and he and Zelensky said, "I can't do that. It would be a lie to do it."
Right. And then Zelensky's also saying too, like when JD Vance is like, "You've never shown appreciation." He's like, "Yes, I have." But he's like, "No, you haven't shown appreciation to this meeting that we're in right here and now. You've shown appreciation to Biden." Zelensky has to be like, "I'm showing appreciation to America. I'm showing appreciation to the office of the president."
Well, he said that
It doesn't matter who the president is, the office of the president, and that's what Trump don't get.
He said
Trump
that
only
on,
gets
he said that on
me.
Brett Baer's show today. He said, "I want it to be known that I thank America and the American people."
Did it in the first 10 minutes of the conference.
Yeah.
He put out a tweet after the meeting thanking America and thanking POTUS. So,
I mean, he was doing everything he could to be, conciliatory, trying to. In fact, he actually, I think, said that he wanted to stay at the White House and continue having the meeting so that they could iron this thing out. And Trump just refused to talk to him.
He kicked him out.
Kicked him out of the White House. So get out of here.
But that's what I'm saying again is I know I keep beating this, but I do not understand why the party, they cannot get drawn into a debate about the substance of this like we have tonight.
Yeah.
They need to reframe it and sell it to people in a different way. Do not argue about the substance of it, but demonstrate it to the American people for the fucking clown show that it was, okay?
Yeah.
They can't argue about the substance. They need to present the semantics of it and how ridiculous it was that he can't handle one meeting with a world leader without making poo-poo in his pants. If he has a language barrier and he's such a smart guy, he didn't have some way to get around the language barrier. He wasn't prepared for that. He didn't think about that. His advisors didn't take care of that situation. His vice president had to step in and take over the meeting. He couldn't keep his cool with one meeting on the world stage with one man that he says he's so much better than. And right there in front of us on TV, we saw an old man who couldn't keep his cool, who had to have the younger man step in for him. And here this old man goes poo-poo in his pants, and then before the meeting's over, he is demanding all this payment that all it does is raise the stakes of our interest in the most volatile and dangerous country in the world, which will absolutely lead us into a confrontation with the Russians if anything happens to our interest. Why can they not frame the debate from that point of view?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
show people what a clown show that is.
My question is, okay, the Trumpers, the MAGAs, how do you think they
Maggots?
feel? How do you think they feel about him today? I'm going to say it's probably they felt, hey, he really gave that Zelensky the what for?
I've heard that several times already from people that I know.
Oh, he
he really gave him Donnie running today, didn't he?
Yeah.
No answer.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's almost 50-50. That's starting to divide them because I think some of them are starting to realize this guy's just a fucking clown.
Yeah.
And, it's not worth it because
It'll take a little more than that, I think.
Do you have your hand up, Patrick?
yeah. And I know you've heard me say this, but I don't understand at what point, although Josh corrected me earlier today, but I don't understand at what point my side, the Republican side, embraces the evil empire that Ronald Reagan called it.
Exactly.
And now to me, it's just logic to be on Zelensky's side. And I have couple of conservative friends that are very much into Trump, and they brought up the money laundering thing. And rather than get into the argument about that, my response was, I don't care, and this was during Biden's administration, I don't care if the Ukrainians are laundering Jill Biden underwear. Doesn't matter, because we need to get rid of Putin. Putin is a fucking menace to the world, and I don't understand why the Republican Party as a whole doesn't see that. And I've been with them for many, many years, and been on their side with many, you know,
and they've been very anti-Russian.
But yeah, I mean, fuck.
3 months ago, it was like that.
Yeah.
What
the
answer is Donald Trump.
But what are you going to say? Wait a minute. Tom?
Yeah, well, the answer, Patrick, is that the Republicans like you have left the Republican Party. And unfortunately, what's left are the people who are either Trump supporters or afraid of Trump supporters. You know, people, you know, like
We're losing your audio for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like fading out.
I heard.
And now you're completely gone.
Trump must have silenced him. He's making too much sense. Silence Tom in San Francisco.
And I'll say after today, I think that actually did chip away a lot of Republicans that aren't, you know, pro-Russia, that they're anti-Russia, and Trump just shown that he's just sucking fucking Putin's dick so hard.
That's exactly it.
They should come out with a new AI thing instead of him sucking fucking Elon Musk's toes and sucking Putin's dick.
Well, this is, to my way of thinking, a big turn of events in world politics. I think that we are now not looked upon favorably after today.
Not at all.
You know,
I'm actually scared to be going to Mexico at the end of next month because, you know, I don't know how we're going to be looked upon as far as Americans. You know,
you'll have drones over your head. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm hoping it's only drones.
Yeah.
Well, he's been sending them over.
I mean, it's terrible what's happening in the rest of the world is not going to be on our side as much as they have been in the past. I mean, even during his first term in office, Trump handled the world stage a little better than he's doing right now, although he got us out of NATO, which was not a good idea. But quit sitting there bitching about Biden did this, Biden did that.
And he called Biden stupid again, too.
You know,
they have commercials out on TV still talking shit about Biden. It's like, dude, you fucking won. Drop it.
Yeah, I mean, it's now your ball game, pal. You know, and you got to run with the ball. And I wish he would do everything wonderfully. You know. I was hoping he would end the war in Ukraine. I was going to come on here and do a show in which I'd have you call up and tell me things he did right so far, you know. But apparently that day has passed, you know. So anyway, hey, there's a theme. Wow. Wow, what a nice crowd tonight. Everybody piping in, putting in their 2 cents worth, and it really is, you know. It was yes, Trump was right. It made for some good TV. You know, it made for something else, but it made for good TV. It was a bad episode of The Apprentice, okay? Anyway, thank you so much, Tom, for being with us tonight. Always appreciate your opinion. Brian, good seeing you here. Is Adrian there in the corner at all? Oh, okay. No. Because I wonder why the cat was walking around a lot. You know. And thank you to Kevin. Really appreciate you. And Josh, your opinion is always worthy. Of course, I don't have to tell Charlie how much we think of him. And it's good to see Richard Braun. And it's good to see Jeff Stein. Patrick, great having you be here tonight, especially on a night like this. Your 2 cents worth puts perspective into it. Tony, thank you for being here. And Jason, Love you being here as well. Everybody, give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There'll be one starting in just a couple of minutes on the intersection with her nibs, Miss Amy Manuel, and it'll be on Skype at, use Skype while you can, Skype at, let's see here, at Gabnet Live, okay? I'll see you again on Monday with the pop-up show, and then we'll be here again, and that'll be at 4 o'clock on Facebook. And then, let's see here. Oh, yeah, then we got to talk about next Wednesday. Same time, same station in life. In the meantime, as always, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Have a nice weekend.